All right, we're recording. So welcome everybody to today's live webinar. We are covering Facebook today. It's Intro to Facebook. So before I introduce Susan Winkler, our technology librarian, I just want to say a couple things about Zoom. So if you hover your mouse over your Zoom screen, you'll probably see a couple of things pop up. There is a couple buttons. So off to the left-hand side, you'll see information about how to change some stuff with your microphone or your video. If you're looking more towards the middle, you're going to see a chat bubble and a raise hand button. So the chat bubble and the raise hand, that's your tools that you can use to ask us questions. So while Susan's doing the webinar, she's going to cover slides and she's going to cover a demo portion. I'll be in the background helping to answer the questions that you put through chat. So if you click on that chat button, it'll pop open a window where you can type your question, which I will see and I can help answer or pose to Susan. And that raise hand button is really useful if you wanted to speak your question rather than type it out in chat. Sometimes it's a lengthier process to type it and it's easier just to, do the raise hand. That's okay too. The main thing is don't be afraid to stop us and ask us questions. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you answer those. So you'll also notice as I'm saying stuff, there's probably a live transcription going. So you can turn that on or off by clicking that live transcription button. And that's a button that just looks like a rectangle with two letter C's inside of it. And you can turn those off, turn those on. And that way that's helpful. I know for me, I like to have the subtitles on because it helps me with comprehension. So up to you whether or not you want to have those on. And of course, you can always ask questions again, like I was saying before. Don't be afraid to do that. I think I've pretty much covered everything. Like Susan was saying before, we are recording this video. You won't be visible. It's just us, Susan and I, that are visible. So don't worry about being on camera or anything. It's just us. So I think let's go ahead and get started. I didn't introduce myself either. I just jumped right in. My name is Rebecca Van Dusen. I am a library associate here at the Champaign Public Library. And I help Susan with her tech workshops. I also teach occasionally, and I work at the information desk on the second floor, as well as the one on the first floor. So you've probably seen me around. I know every once in a while somebody stops by and says, "Hey, I saw you in the webinar today." I'm like, "Yep, that was me." So let's go ahead and get started. How are you today, Susan?
I'm good. How about yourself, Rebecca?
I'm doing good.
Good. I do want to mention too that since we are recording today's webinar, what we typically do is we will send out a link to the recording and any follow-up questions and a link to our handout in a follow-up email that we'll usually send out a couple of days later once the video is up on the YouTube channel and is live. And if you ever want to go to that YouTube channel, we can show you how to get to it as well from the library's website too. Today, though, we are going to cover Facebook. This is our introduction to Facebook class. When we run it in person, we do let people go ahead and get Facebook accounts if they want. Today, since it's more of a demo situation, we have a demo account through the library that we'll use to kind of go over the different facets of Facebook. And then, of course, we are open to any questions you might have that either we can answer or we can search together to see if we can find it in their help and information. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And so it's kind of a combination of slides and screen share today with the demo. So we'll start with our slideshow. All right, so I'm hoping you can see the Getting Started Intro to Facebook slide here.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So a couple of things about Facebook. If you're not familiar with Facebook, that's totally okay. That's where we're kind of targeting the audience members who maybe have not played with Facebook yet or have heard of it, but really haven't gotten into what does it mean and how do I use it. You've probably heard of it, at least in the media, especially of late with popular culture and critical things like events that are happening right now and information and misinformation, disinformation, all of that kind of stuff being passed around. We're going to talk about what Facebook is in essence, what it is, what it's categorized as. We're going to talk about how you connect with friends and groups and pages through it. We'll talk about how to search for something that you might want either to connect with someone or to connect with maybe a company. We'll talk about the profile page and your home page and the news feed. And we'll talk about posts and how to generate posts, also how to generate stories. And then we'll spend some time talking about friends and how to do friend requests and suggestions of friends. And they do have something called Facebook Messenger, which is allows you to send direct messages back and forth, which means it's between you and another person or a couple people. We'll talk about how to know if you've got notifications of something that's happened. And then we'll talk a little bit about some ways that you can interact with other people. Along with interacting with other people comes the etiquette situation, and there are some sort of guidelines etiquette-wise for the internet in general, and then also Facebook specific. And then we'll talk about settings, including important privacy settings, things you can check for the things you can control. A lot of social media sites are running under you opt out of something rather than opting into something. So I want to make sure that everybody has the tools in the toolbox to go into your settings and change the settings that you can change, and to know what those mean. So, okay. All right, any questions before we begin? We'll talk a little bit about privacy at the end too, and also a little bit about things that you maybe want to think twice about sharing on a social media site as well. So, okay. All right, well, if there are no questions, we'll go ahead and jump right in.
Yeah, I don't see any questions.
Okay, so what is Facebook? Well, Facebook is essentially an online social media and social networking site. And what that generally means is that it's a chance for someone to create an account. And once you're a registered user, you can share content with others. You can share posts and stories and videos and photos and links, and everyone else can do the same thing. So it's a chance for you to connect to other people, connect to maybe a business that you follow, that you're a fan of. You can follow bands, you can follow companies, you can get into hobbies, all sorts of stuff like that. And then all of that information is shared with you and served up in your news feed based on algorithms that are a fancy way of saying programming in the background that Facebook uses to prioritize what you're going to see and when you're going to see it. You can message other users with a direct message, and you can access it. There's an app for your smartphone or tablet, as well as access on a computer by going to Facebook's website, which is facebook.com, where you can also sign in. Okay, so basically it's a chance for you to share content with others and have others share content with you. Okay, so once you log in for the first time and you create your account, you'll need to have an email address and create a password. And then you can log in and you can start to build your network of people and groups and pages that you follow and interact with. So at the very top of your Facebook page, you'll see a search bar on the left-hand side. And then in the middle, you'll have a series of 5 icons. And then on the far right side, you'll have another series of icons. The top of that page is known as the navigation bar. And then to access those different pages and do stuff, you would click on these things across the top to get to those pages. So you can use the search bar to search for specific people, bands, groups, businesses, topics, whatever you want. The home, it looks like a little house here. That is your home feed, where all of the content is served up that you get to see. And then and I'll talk about those more in just a minute. On the right-hand side, you also have your profile page, which for us is this little PL. For you, it would probably be your first name. And your little circle here is your picture or whatever you've put up as your profile picture. We'll talk about profile pictures in a moment as well. And then the 9 dots here are a menu of different places you can go within Facebook. Messenger is going to be this little thing that looks like a comment with a little sideways lightning bolt in it. Messenger is the way you can message friends individually or direct message them so that nobody else sees them except for the people you're intending to message. Your notifications. So if someone comments on a post of yours or tags you in something, and we'll talk about what those are in a minute, but they would show up here where the little bell is. That's your notifications. So you'd have a little one that's orange with a little orange box and a white one in it would appear above this to suggest you have a one notification. Okay, and then your account settings are going to be where that down arrow is at the very far right hand side, and that is where you can do things like checking your privacy settings. You can, when you log out, all of that stuff is controlled by those settings over there. Okay, so we'll go over this stuff and then I'll show a live demo of this too. Okay, so your home page, again, that's going to be basically the landing page when you sign into Facebook, and it's going to be content that's served up regarding what other people are doing on Facebook that you follow or your friends. Your friends page is going to show you all of the people that you are officially Facebook friends with. It will show you their information and it gives you a chance to make sure you can see like suggested friends and things like that. The watch page is basically Facebook's way of serving up video content to you that they think you would like, that they, as in the algorithm, is serving up to you to watch. Marketplace is much like Craigslist, but in the Facebook context. So it's people selling items or people looking for items and posting the for sale stuff in there. And then the one that I think it almost looks like a little paw print, but it's really like a person. And then I think other people supposed to be behind it. But to me, it looks more like a paw print, but that's the groups page. So that is going to be any group that you follow. Say you like gardening, so you join a gardening in Illinois group on Facebook. That is where you would see that you've joined that group. Okay. All right. Okay. So the first thing, when you first log into Facebook and you first get a Facebook account, the Facebook is going to pull up friend suggestions, which means they're going to show you people that they think you might want to follow or be friends with on Facebook. And that will pop up pretty much immediately when you first get a Facebook account. And then you can say yes or no to be friends with them. You also have friend requests, which are people who have specifically requested to be a friend with you, or you can specifically be searching and look for someone and ask them to be your friend. So for example, if you know you have, say, a high school reunion coming up, right? And you want to get in touch with some of your classmates, you could certainly go and search Facebook and look for their names and then see if they are on Facebook and reach out to them with a message and say, hey, I'm looking to reconnect with some classmates for the high school reunion. Are you interested in connecting and being a Facebook friend? And then they say, sure, and then you guys are friends on Facebook. Okay. So just a little bit. For those groups, to join a group or find people with similar interests or hobbies, again, all you have to do is at the top of your screen with those 5 icons, the last one on the right is the groups menu. And you can go ahead and just tap on it and they'll give, the algorithm will give suggestions for categories for groups that you might want to belong to. So for me, I do a lot of digital scrapbooking. So I belong to a lot of digital scrapbooking groups on Facebook. If you love cats, you might join a group all about cats. If you love gardening, you might join gardening groups. So it's basically things like for your hobbies, or it can be related to your location. So for example, if you wanted to follow a local group, or follow a local business like Curtis Orchard, you could look for Curtis Orchard and find them there, or, like Cafe Kopi, or, wherever and whomever you're interested in connecting with for pages or groups. So groups are slightly different than pages. Sorry, hold on, let me go back. So groups are going to be usually people with similar interests or hobbies, whereas pages are going to be for those specific places like companies like Curtis or businesses like Curtis Orchard, libraries, charitable associations, and professional organizations. So the difference between groups is that groups are usually the general public, general people who have the same interest as you. Whereas then you could follow a business if you wanted to as well. Okay. Okay. You can also create a room. This is if you know about Google Meet and even Zoom, these are ways for people to contact each other and have video capabilities. So Facebook has also gotten in on that by having what they call rooms. And rooms is a way for you to connect with friends and family over video chat through Facebook. We won't actually demonstrate rooms specifically today, but just know it's essentially a way for you to get into a room where you can use basically a video chat function. Okay, and I thought we had gotten to any questions section here. So I'm going to save the search box for a second and go ahead and kind of do a live demo of how this first set of stuff looks. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. And I'm going to go ahead and switch to share my Facebook screen here. So we've logged into our demo account here. So I just want to call your attention to those things that we were talking about. So here at the top, Rebecca, you can see the Facebook profile, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So up here at the top where we said search Facebook. So here is where on the far left-hand side there, that's where we could search Facebook. So I could search for the Champaign. If I spell Champaign right. I could search for Champaign Public Library and bring up search results. We'll cover that in more detail in just a moment, but I just want you to know right here is where you can search. The home brings up your home feed, which is in the center here. And this is going to be where that algorithm is serving up the people that you follow, the groups that you follow, any interaction that you have with someone else will appear here. It also has the chance for you to create a post at the top where you would see what's on your mind PL. That would be where I could make a post myself. And then here's where we see that create room, where I could create a room where I could go and video chat with anyone else. Up here at the top, the friends. We don't have any friends for our demo account, but if we did, if I tapped on friends, I could see the friend requests that I have. So if I've requested to be someone's friend, or if they've requested mine, if Facebook has any suggestions of people we might know. And usually for the suggestions, Facebook will take, if you become friends with someone and they're friends with 5 other people, Facebook will probably show you those 5 other people and say, oh, look, you have 6 mutual friends. So you probably, because you have 6 mutual friends, you probably know this person. You may or may not actually know them in real life, but Facebook will serve up that suggestion so that then you can say, yes, I want to be Facebook friends with them, or no, I don't. Okay. And then again, the watch, which is in the middle there, these are going to be videos that it's serving up. They're often pretty random. It's basically Facebook's answer to Instagram and TikTok in a way, where it's all the short video content that they serve up from people. Then the marketplace is that 4th one over, and it is going to be again, people that are selling things or people that are searching for things. So if you wanted to sell something, so again, it's a little bit like Craigslist or eBay or places like that, but it's independent. So essentially, if you were interested in any of these, you'd want to contact the person, meet at a secure, safe location to discuss or talk to them or negotiate or things. Okay. And then, oh, gaming's new. That's new. Usually this used to be groups. Interesting. Okay. So I guess now this is gaming. Is that true for you, Rebecca? I think mine still says groups.
Mine still says groups too. I'm not quite sure. Maybe they're trying to do some promotion or something.
Yeah, maybe they're doing a promotion. But anyway, so I guess in our demo account right now, this is gaming, which is going to show you featured games and things that you could do with gaming. Let me go back to here and see. So over here on the left-hand side, if you can also, basically it repeats that same navigation from up top here. So if I wanted to see groups, instead of going here to where this one says gaming, I could come down here on the left-hand side where it says find friends, pages, groups, marketplace, and watch. And I could go to groups here and see the same thing that screenshot was of. where it's groups that that Facebook's algorithm is suggesting to me that I should join. And then if I go back here, pages, again, that would be if you're following businesses, will be here. Okay, and those are pages. Okay. All right, let me go back just a second. Then over here on the far right, what we were talking about, this here, where it's got the circle and the PL, that is my profile page. So this is my profile page, which is going to tell me, you can see the last time we posted was probably the last time we taught this workshop, I'm guessing, which was back in October. So you see all of these things here, and we'll get into more detail about those soon, but just know that up here on the top right, that first icon is your profile page. And then we have the menu page, which lets you look at all of the other places you can go to and things that you can create or do. It's all going to be in here. Then there's Messenger, which lets you see your direct messages between you and other people. And then notifications is here. If I click on it, I can also see earlier notifications too. So these are all things that groups and people that are adding events and things that might interest you that it's serving up for you. And then on the very far right, that down triangle is your account information. And we're going to come back to this in a little bit to talk about our settings and privacy and the help and support window too. Okay, so I just wanted to get kind of an idea of what the layout of that navigation in the top was. If you have questions, please feel free to share them now. And then we'll go back to the PowerPoint to talk about searching. Okay, so that was messengers. All right, any questions about that general navigation at the top of the screen with Facebook?
I haven't seen any questions so far, but I'll keep you updated.
Okay, perfect. So the next thing I want to cover, that search box. So on that left-hand side up at the top, there's the search, and you can search for just about anything you want. And you just put it in that search bar, and then you'll get a series of results. So I'm going to go ahead and show us this. And then just want to mention, once you get those results, you can also narrow it down using the filters that'll pop up. So if I searched for cats, and let's say I really wanted to find, it really was that I want to find people named Cat, I could then tap on people, and it'll show me specific people with the name Cat. If I was to hit search for cat and look at photos, it would show me photos of cats that other people have posted. If I want to look for posts, it'll show me, posts where people have mentioned the word cat. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a moment and I'll demo this live for us. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my home screen here. Excuse me. And then I'm going to search Facebook. So what should we search Facebook for? If anybody wants to put something in the chat for what they might think we should search for, maybe pets or a local business or Urbana Free Library, maybe. So we'll go ahead and put Urbana Free Library in there for now. Okay. So now you can see over here on the left-hand side, I've got my search result. Your search results are going to show up in the middle here, starting with the Urbana Free Library page. Over here on the left-hand side, though, I could filter. Instead of having all the results, I could go for just posts that mention the Urbana Free Library or things that Urbana Free Library has posted themselves. Or I can pick people, and then it's going to be people who probably potentially work at the Urbana Free Library, or at least work at a library, because it's searching the word library as well. Photos, hopefully probably going to give us public photos that were taken at the library. Videos, probably videos of the library in general. Marketplace would be maybe, okay, some books. That's coming up because of the word library in there again. And then let's come back down here. Oops, let me go back to my search results here. And then we can pick pages. And here's where we're going to see the Urbana Free Library page. And if I want to follow the Urbana Free Library page, meaning I want them, what they post to show up for me in my feed of the information and content that's being funneled to me so I can see it, I would check mark this box right here. So if I check mark the box here, I am following this page. If I want to add a new page to follow, all I have to do is hit that plus, and that plus sign will have me follow that place too. So if I wanted to, for example, follow the Urbana Arts and Culture program, all I would have to do is hit the plus here, and now I'm following them. If I want to get more information about that particular page, I can also click right on it and then learn more about the Urbana Arts and Culture program. Okay, so it says it's a government organization. I can learn where they're located, how many people like them, what their website address is, the phone number, when they're open, and then I can see things that they've posted here and how long ago they posted them. Okay. Okay. Any questions about that, about searching? So here's groups too. So groups might be, you know, friends of the Urbana Free Library, you know, other groups that mention Urbana. It's like that. Okay. Any questions about searching?
I haven't seen any questions so far.
Okay, so you don't have to search just specifically for a place too. Like I said, I could search for garden or gardening news or gardens. Here it's going to give me places. So this is going to give me local places with the word garden in them, like Prairie Gardens, for example, or the Red Oak Rain Garden. If I go to pages, this will give me some pages of gardening. So there's, again, like the hobbies or interests that we have. For example, backyard gardener, garden therapy. If I go up to people, this is probably going to give me people that have the last name of garden, or anybody. Let's see if there's, yeah, mostly people who have the last name garden. Okay.
Someone's asking for a specific search. Can you search for sewing group?
Is it like this?
Yes, I believe it is.
Okay. Spelling does matter. Yep. So there's sew and C hyphen. It looks like they have a hyphen in there. So C-U. So it's a group of sewing enthusiasts who meet on the first Wednesday of each month here at the Champaign Public Library. So if I wanted to follow them, I could just go ahead and click on follow. If I wanted to see what they were up to, or if they had a post, I can hit right here and I can say, okay, so here's what they've done most recently and find out more about them. Okay. All right. Thank you for that suggestion. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and go back home here. All right. Any questions about searching for someone or a group or a page?
I don't see anything else so far.
Okay, perfect. All right. I'm going to go ahead and we'll go back to the next section here. Okay. Okay. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the home page. And that home page is what you see when you log in. The news feed is essentially where those posts and stories that are shared by pages, groups, or friends show up. So that's going to be the central location right in here. This is where all of that stuff is going to show up from other people. So from there, you can interact with those posts and stories and things that are shared by other people, and you can comment, and then you can create a new post or story yourself. Okay. So the makeup of your homepage is essentially that middle news feed, and then the left-hand navigation, where you can look at all of these options of where you can navigate to. So if you want to find your friends, like we just talked about, pages and groups and the marketplace and watch. And then there's a section for events where if you see an event from a group that you're interested in, you can click on that event and say, yes, I'm interested. I'm planning to go to this event. Memories is something where Facebook serves up stuff from your past Facebook experiences, where it might show you a photo that you posted last year on the same date. You can even find jobs on Facebook and look at the possibility of, you know, what jobs are local that people have posted. Okay. Okay, then your profile page is the page where you post the updates and share info about yourself, your photos, your videos, your life events that are relevant to you that you want others to see. So the most important thing about this is it's got to be stuff that you want others to see. So if you want things to be private about yourself, I would suggest not posting them on Facebook at all. Others can see it once you become friends with someone. They can see a certain amount of whatever's on your profile. So if you don't want certain people to see certain things, you can control a little bit of that, but it's best to err on the side of not posting it if you are at all worried that someone might see it, that you don't want them to see it. Okay, if that makes sense. Because once it's out there, people can screenshot it, and it might resurface later. Okay, so you curate the content on this page though. So it's your responsibility to place there what you want to place. Okay, the two major things that one thing that people can see, no matter who they are, is your profile photo. So that little small circular photo here, that is available for everyone to see. So, if you don't want it to be your face, so people can't necessarily identify you by your picture, then I suggest putting something up there like flowers or, abstract images, objects, art, whatever you want. Because this is something that people can see. If they were to go search Facebook for your name, that would show up. Okay, and I'll demonstrate that in just a moment. Your cover photo is usually a large central photo, and you can change that to whatever you want it to be. Lots of times people change it each month. Sometimes people change it to, be whatever banner, whatever thing they want to advertise, or, if it's a particular month where, like National Reading Month or something, they might change it to, National Reading Month. It's totally up to you. Okay. The intro section is information you share about yourself. And this is stuff that Facebook will prompt you to put in at the beginning when you first get an account. And you can choose to put it in there or not. Again, it's up to you. But if you put, you can put the cities that you've lived in, you can put schools you've attended, you can put your birth date, you can put whatever you want in there. Now, caveat to that, of course, is people then can see a certain amount of the stuff people can see. So again, you want to be careful about what you're letting other people see and what information you're giving them about yourself. Okay, so I want to throw that out there. Okay, so here's more of the anatomy of your profile page, and then we'll go over each of these portions in the live demo. Okay, so your profile page is made up of posts which is the content that you generate or curate that others can see. Sometimes your posts will include photos or videos, what's going on in your day. If you're going on vacation and you want to post some vacation photos, you can post them here. If you want to talk about the weather or how your day is going, that's all stuff you can put into a post. Okay. You can also see all of the photos that you have either taken and put together into albums that you've shared with others, or other images of you that have your information in them. So like if you've been tagged in a photo, so if someone tags you in a photo, say you've gone to dinner with some friends and your one friend takes a picture, and then they know that you have a Facebook page and they want you to be able to see that photo, they might tag you in it. So then you get a notification that says, oh, this person has posted a photo of you, and you can go and see that photo. Okay. Your profile page also includes your friends list. So that's going to tell you all the people that you're friends with. And then if you did see all friends, you could see all of the friends that you have on Facebook down here on the right-hand side, or sorry, the left-hand side. Okay. Again, the other things that are in that profile, that intro section where you can do, details about you. And then there's more information besides posts here, let me go back. Okay, the about section, friends, photos, story archive, and more. We'll cover this stuff in more detail in just a moment. Okay, but primarily your profile page is made up of posts and photos and your friends list. Okay, let's go ahead and demo that real quick. Okay, so again, here, this is my news feed down here. on my home page, which is where I land, but I'm going to go to my profile page, which is up here in the top right-hand corner with the little circle and the PL. So I'm going to click on that. And now here we are. Here's my cover image, my profile image. And then down here, I can see my posts, which are going to show up right here. So everybody can see where I've highlighted the word posts. So this is going to be all of the things that I've posted. Down below that, we have the intro section where I could add details about what cities I've lived in, life events, things like that. Photos will be down here, so I could see all the photos. And then my friends list will be down at the bottom here. Okay. So if I want to edit my profile, you see I can easily edit my profile right here and change information about myself. My profile picture, my cover photo, that bio section that we were just talking about, where you can put in the cities or schools that you've been to, your relationship status, your workplace, any hobbies, anything you want to add in there, you can add it in there. Okay. You can edit it at any time. Okay. And then you can search your own profile too. If you wanted to find a specific post you made in the past, you could search for that. The about section here, this is again, that information, the intro section, places you've lived, details about you, life events, all that stuff. If you want to put it in there, you don't have to put it in there, but you could if you wanted to. And then you can break down your friends more fully and also look at your photos more fully. Okay. Are there any questions about the profile page at this point?
So someone did have a question about, I already answered it in the chat, but I'll go ahead and pose it here as well.
Sure.
So someone is asking about the friends list and who can see it. So basically what happens with your friends list is that it's public by default. So that means that anybody that has access and can see your Facebook can see the people that are on your friends list. Now, if you go into your settings, more specifically your privacy settings, you can change how your friends show up on your profile.
Yes, and we're going to talk about this in more detail in a few moments too. But what I did there, going from the profile page to account settings, so you'd go to the little down arrow here and then down to settings and privacy. Again, this is where, where I say it's always opt out, not opt in. So to opt out of having all of this information be available to others, one way to opt out is just to not put it in there or to delete it. And another way to opt out of having everyone see it is to pay attention to your settings and the things that you can turn on or off in your settings. Okay. And we'll talk about that in more detail in a few moments, but Rebecca's right. You would go in here and you would check and see, what stuff people can see or what people they can see about your profile. Okay. Okay. And we'll cover that in more detail in just a little bit. Okay. Other questions? I would have answered it exactly the same way.
That's the only question I see so far.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on here. I'm going to jump back to, I wonder if I can just jump to new share. Let's see if this works. I'm going to try something a little different this time. Okay, do we see newsfeed?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yay, it worked. Okay, so your newsfeed is essentially where the posts shared by pages, groups, and friends show up. It's that thing in the middle on your home page. Okay, and you can customize it a little bit by changing preferences in settings. Again, so just like your privacy settings, you can go into settings and change your newsfeed preferences. What that means is there's a couple things you can do. So you can follow someone, and then let's say they're posting a bunch of stuff that you don't really want to see anymore. You can snooze them, which means basically you kind of turn them off of being in that algorithm and fed into your newsfeed for a while. You can unfollow people. You can hide posts from certain groups that you don't want to see. So you can customize some of what happens in that newsfeed by going into your newsfeed preferences. So for example, if you have a family member that you're friends with on Facebook, but they post a lot of political things that you just don't want to see. You could snooze them for a while so that you don't see it. Or you could say, I'm going to just hide these posts, these political posts, and eventually the algorithm should pick up that you're hiding so many of them and stop feeding them to you. Okay. So that's how you can, as they say, take control and customize your news feed. So you can go into your settings and then check newsfeed preferences to manage that information. Okay. Okay. And I'll show that live in just a second too. I did want to talk about Facebook stories quickly. Facebook stories are your friends and groups, and you can post stories on Facebook that share everyday moments with you and their followers, but they're only visible for 24 hours. So this is essentially Facebook's answer to sort of the Instagram and like, what are they called on Instagram? Sorry, the name just escaped me.
They're called stories as well.
Stories. Okay.
Facebook owns Instagram, so I think they use the same name.
So they use the same name. So it's basically you could be on Facebook and create a story, and it's just like what you could create on Instagram. It's just feeding it up to your Facebook audience instead of your Instagram audience. But they appear for 24 hours. So they do disappear after a certain amount of time. And then you can see them you are the only one who can see them after 24 hours. So that's another option if you want something to be there, but just not be there for a super long time for people to see. It's a possibility. So I just wanted to mention it. It's out there. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and show that live. So let's jump back into here. Okay, so, oops, sorry. Let me go back up here a moment. Over here, go back to where I am here. Okay, with the news feed. So if I wanted to customize what I'm seeing here on my news feed, I can go to my settings, which is in the account section, which is all the way over on the right-hand side, and go to settings and privacy, news feed preferences. And then here, I can manage my favorites, meaning I can add people and pages to put them higher up in my newsfeed. I can unfollow someone. I can reconnect with people that I've unfollowed. I can snooze, or I can control the total number of reactions visible on Facebook posts. So let's go to manage favorites. So here is the list of groups that I follow. And so these are the posts from friends and pages that if I hit that and make them blue, that means the algorithm through Facebook is going to prioritize information from these groups first. So I'm more likely to see stuff from the Champaign Public Library than I am from the Urbana Arts and Culture program. Okay. And you can add up to 30 friends and pages to be in those favorites. Okay, so that's one way you can customize your newsfeed. You can also unfollow folks. Excuse me. And you can, like I said, you can snooze. So if you have someone that you don't want to hear from anymore, but you don't want to unfollow them, you still want to follow them, you just don't want to see as much from them, you can snooze them. The other way these things come up that you can customize things like this is if you notice this post here. So this is a post from Champaign Moms. If I wanted to see less from Champaign Moms, I could come over here to the three little dots and say hide post, which will let me see fewer posts like that. Here's where I could snooze them if I wanted to, or I could also unfollow them. Okay. So it's another way that you can get to that to help customize your newsfeed. Okay. Questions about your newsfeed at the moment?
I don't see any so far.
Okay. And Facebook stories. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and move on to generating content. So when you want to generate your own content, and you want to create a new post, you want to tell the world, or at least your Facebook world, your friends, what's going on. So what you would do is you can click right here where it says what's on your mind, and then you can create a post. If you notice here, right here, it says my friends. So on each post, you can customize who's going to see it to a certain extent. So right now it's set to my friends. So anyone who is a friend of PL Champaign would be able to see this post as soon as it's published. If I had changed this to public, that means anyone on Facebook, if they find me or search, could find this post. Okay, so make sure you're aware of who your audience is that you're sharing this stuff with. You could also pick a certain friends. So if I was planning a surprise party for someone, I could say, all right, I'm super excited about the surprise party. It's going to be the best thing in the world. But I don't want that particular friend to see that post. So I would say all of my friends except for this person, because I don't want to spoil the surprise. Okay, so you could do that as well. And then you could say specific friends, because you only want to communicate with specific people, or you can make it just for yourself. And if it's just for yourself, it's essentially like a journal, diary, or whatever you want. Okay, so keep in mind that you can select your audience. All right. So what should we post about today? Post about the weather. Oh, I'm actually going to change this to friends too. Okay, we could post about the weather. We could post about how cool we think a certain book we've read is. Does anyone have any suggestions? How great intro to Facebook class is? There we go. Just as an example. Okay, so let's say we're going to post the intro to Facebook workshop at the library is wonderful. We can also say how we're feeling. We could add emojis. If you're familiar with emojis, you know, we could add a smiley face to be like, we're so happy that this is working out well. We can also, over here, we can customize the background a little bit if we want. I don't usually customize my backgrounds that often, but if you want your post to stand out, that's something you could do. Okay, you can also add to your post. And when you hit add to your post, that's going to let you do various things down here at the bottom, like you could host a Q&A, you can add a photo or video, you could tag people. So remember when we said, excuse me, sorry, I'm going to take a quick drink here. Okay, remember when we said we could tag people, and if someone tagged us in a photo, this is the same idea. You could tag someone in your Facebook post. So if we said this intro to Facebook workshop at the Champaign Public Library is wonderful, and we tagged the Champaign Public Library, we could tag Champaign Public Library. We could tag a specific person, so a friend of ours, if we had a friend. We could check in at a certain location, like the Champaign Public Library, that's saying we're at that location taking this webinar. And we could say we are feeling, I wonder if energized. Yeah, we're feeling energized. Okay, so now we've created this post. So we're feeling energized at the Champaign Public Library because we're taking this intro to Facebook workshop. That's wonderful. Okay, and now I can go ahead and say post. And it's going to go ahead and post that to my Facebook profile. Now, since I've tagged the Champaign Public Library as my location, it's going to show up down here that I'm at the Champaign Public Library. And it's going to give the map location for the Champaign Public Library. Now, again, that's optional. So I opted to post the location information here. You wouldn't have to. You can, but you don't have to. Okay. And I know if I needed to check to make sure that who I shared this with, the three little dots here are going to tell me I can edit my post if I made a mistake. I can also edit the audience. So that'll tell me that it's been sent to all my friends. Okay. If I needed to edit it for any reason, edit the post, it's going to pop right back up and I can say whatever I want to change and then hit save and that'll change it. Okay. But again, keep in mind, once it's out there, it's out there. So someone could come along and take a screenshot of whatever you've said. So it is in the world, shall we say. Okay. Any questions about how to create a post?
I haven't seen anything so far.
Okay. If I wanted to add a photo to it, I would go back to edit post and I could click this little photo video icon. And what it's going to do, I don't know if you can see that it brought up, you know, documents or whatever. And I could pull, you know, this kitten in a tree photo and say open. And then it's going to put that kitten in a tree and add it to my post. So if I do save again, then we have the kitten in the tree. And the location that we're still at, the Champaign Public Library. Okay. The other, so I would say anatomy of a post is at the bottom here. If you see where it says like, comment, or share. This is the major way people interact with each other on Facebook. If someone posts something and you like it, you would tap like, but you have some other options here too. So if someone posted something that was sad, you have the chance to do a sad face with a tear. You could also do a heart for love, or a heart being hugged for care, haha, or funny and laughing, surprise, wow, and then if you're upset. Okay, so that's one way you can interact with other posts from both businesses and your friends. The other thing you do is make a comment. So I could make a comment saying that kitten is adorable. Hopefully I spell it right. Okay, so that kitten is adorable. And then I hit enter. And now I'm commenting on my own post that the kitten is adorable. That's totally okay. I can do that. Someone else could come along and say, why did you comment on your own post? But it's for demo purposes, so it's totally fine. I could also reply. So if someone says something like this kitten is adorable, I could reply and say, I know, they're so cute. So you can just have a conversation with those comments. You can also share. So I could share this post with a specific friend, or share it to my own news feed, or send it to a friend. So if, for example, a group posts something that I think another friend of mine would be very interested in, I could share it with that specific friend, okay? Or if I think everyone should know and see it, I could say share, and share it with everyone on my, could put it on my news feed and share with everyone that sees my stuff, okay? So it's a little bit about how you can interact with other people that you're friends with or that you follow. Okay. Okay. Any questions so far about creating a post or a story?
Nope.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and come back over here. We'll talk a little bit about friend requests and finding friends. So this is something that comes up a lot where, we took that example earlier of a high school reunion, for example. So let's say you were trying to find, well, we'll use me, Susan Winkler. So I'm going to put in my, me here, Susan Winkler, hit enter. And then there are a lot of people who have the name of Susan Winkler. If I limit this to people, you can see it's people specific right now. Right here, the search results are people specific. And I can see some information about these people, right? This is what they have actually chosen to share. But you see that all of them have a picture, the profile picture. That's why I wanted to make sure you knew that profile picture is always public. Okay, so whatever your profile picture is, that will always be public. So people can always find you by that profile picture. So if you put a cat or some, an object art like we talked about, then they don't see that it's you as in your face. That may be a good thing, maybe a bad thing, totally up to you to decide. Okay, so in this case, we can see a little bit of information about folks here to see which one we're trying to find. If we were looking at, let's see, oh, here. So this is a post by the Champaign Public Library about the technology librarian, Susan Winkler, that could help answer questions. Okay. So, and then our art of podcasting, this was an event we did just last week on the art of podcasting. Okay. And then here are some other Susan Winklers that I don't know, but you get the idea, I hope. Any questions about that? So when you're trying to find someone and you're looking through the search results to try to find them, just make sure you know enough about the person based on the information that's being shared here to know that they are the friend that you're looking for. So in the case of this person, they have pretty much everything available. You can see their posts, everything's pretty much public. Some of the other folks probably have things locked down a little bit more. I don't know, we'd have to check. Let's see. Yeah, everybody's pretty much got a lot of stuff. Okay, so a lot of these Susan Winklers have a lot of stuff showing where you can find out more about them. I was hoping to find someone that had it locked down a little bit more. but like you can, where you can lock stuff down so that they can't see your posts or things like that. So anyway, but that gives you the idea of how you can search for someone. And then if you wanted to submit a friend request to them, you would hit over here where it says add friend, and then they would get a friend request from you and they could say yes or no. You can also send messages to people, and you could send a message to them saying, hey, I think we went to high school together, da 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 da, or tell them the story and the situation to see if they would friend you. Okay, any questions about friend requests?
No, I don't see anything.
Okay, if I wanted to compose a message to someone, down here in the bottom right-hand corner where this little box is with the little pen or pencil, that would be where I could put a new message. So then I could look for the Susan Winkler that I want to talk to. I could tap on their name and then send them a message saying, hey, I think you're the Susan Winkler that went to my high school. Da, 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 da. And then they could respond back to you. Okay. Okay. So let me go back here to our home screen. Okay. Any questions about searching for people in friend requests? How that all works? Before I move on.
I don't see anything.
Okay. So the next thing we talk about is the notifications. So remember that we set up here at the very top on the right-hand side, your notifications are going to be where this little bell is. So if I click on that, right now we don't have any new notifications, but earlier in the week, we had a day, a week, a while ago, we had notifications about different things that were happening, including some Audubon Society events that might interest me. So if I notice this, I can click on this, and then I can look at the Champaign County Audubon Society and see the upcoming events that they have that might interest me. So for example, there's a birding trip to Havana, Illinois. If this was interesting to me, I might tap interested, and that would signify that I'm interested in going to this event. Or I could say I'm going to it and I know I'm going to it. Or I could share it with other people that I think might also be interested. Maybe I have some other birding friends that are not yet members of Champaign County Audubon, but I would like them to become members and join me. So I could say, I could share that event. Okay. So those are all things you can do to interact specifically with events that are being put on by another group. Other kinds of notifications, you might get one where someone has tagged you, like we said, in a photo, or tagged you in a post, or someone has invited you to something specific or asked you something. Those will all show up in that notification section up here. Messenger, again, if you have individual messages from someone, they'll show up here in your messenger, and then you can respond to them. Okay. So that's any questions about notifications?
No, I don't see any.
Okay, let's go dig into some meat, the meat of your account information. So I'm going to go to the account, and I'm going to go to settings and privacy. So settings, there are a lot of things you can control. Excuse me, a lot of things you can control in your settings. Your general settings are going to include your name, your contact information, and what you do if you need to do a memorial for your account. So in some cases, people who've passed away, they've set someone to keep their Facebook page active so that people can share comments and treat it like a memorial. Identity confirmation is something you have to do for running ads and things. If you want to do that, you can investigate that too. Your security and login information is going to tell you where you're logged in. So for example, right now we're logged in on a Windows PC in Champaign, Illinois. If you're checking this and it says you're logged in, in Newark, New Jersey, and you have not been to Newark in the last, couple of days, I would go ahead and come down here and say, this is not me, or try to log out, because that might be someone who's trying to get into your account, or that's a chance for you to just verify that you are, that you're tracking what you're doing and your activity. So you can also change your passwords. You can use two-factor authentication. That means basically when you log in, they ask for another form of identification from you, like a code that you then have to enter as an extra level of security. And then there's some other information about setting up extra security as well. Okay, Facebook information. You can access all of your Facebook information throughout time and get a copy of it and download it if you want. You can look at your activity log, which shows, what you're doing and when. Off Facebook activity is if you have signed up for anything else using a Facebook account, this will tell you which organizations you've done that with. You may want to consider whether or not that is something you really want to do, or if you want to not do that anymore. And here's a place where you can manage that a little bit. Okay. The privacy section, you can check. They have like a privacy checkup that you can do to check and make sure your things are set how you want them. Down here, if you don't want to change individual posts, you can change who can see your future posts and change this from friends to public to certain friends. Kind of stuff, you can do that here instead of on each individual post. Who can see the people and pages and lists you follow. So this is the one. I'm going to edit that and change this to friends. So only my friends can now see who I follow. Okay. So how people can find and contact you. If everyone can send you a friend request, and who can see your friends list. This is the one that Rebecca was talking about, where right now everyone can see my friends list because it's public. So if I edit this and I say, I only want my friends to be able to see who I'm friends with, then that should change that setting there. Who can look you up? Who can look you up using a phone number? So you might want to go through these and just, change them to friends, friends of friends, just think about what information you want people to be able to see and find about you. So there are advantages and disadvantages to both, right? If you want people to be able to find you so that you can, reconnect with someone in your past, then maybe you want to leave it open to everyone. But again, it's up to you. Okay. You can also decide whether or not you want to get message requests. And you can also, Facebook has this thing about facial recognition. So you can set that to yes or no. Anyway, I just encourage you to go through all of these settings and, get some information about what they mean and what you as a consumer want to decide to say yes or no to. Excuse me, goodness. Any questions so far?
Someone is asking to explain blocking.
Yes. Yep. So that's, yep. So we're headed there next. So I'm just going to, pardon me for 1 second here. Excuse me. Sorry about that. All right. So blocking would be if you have someone who has been contacting you through Facebook and you do not want to interact with them, there are certain levels of blocking that you can do. So you can add friends to the restricted list, which means that they don't see your stuff on Facebook anymore that you share. You can block a user, which means that person can no longer see things you post on your timeline or tag you or invite you or basically interact with you. You can block messages and video calls from someone specifically. You can block app invites. You can block event invites from someone. You can block specific apps and pages. So it's a way for you to manage what people and groups or pages can do to get your attention. And if you don't want them to send you things, you can block them. Okay. And that works both for people that are, a few years ago, there were some stories about, kids on Facebook that were bullying each other. So this is one way to get to combat bullying, where you can block users. It's also a chance for you just to say, look, I don't know who you are and I do not wish to be friends with you. And after you've said that, if they still reach out to you, you can block them. Okay. Okay. Location is just your location information. You can turn it off or on depending on if you want Facebook to know where you are and be able to track that. And then notifications here, you can set up whether or not you want to get notifications just on Facebook, or if you want emails to come to you when somebody has commented on something or tagged you or something. So if you run a business, you might say, yes, I actually want to get all those comments immediately. So reach out to me whatever way so that I can address the comment or question that someone has. Whereas if it's your personal account, you may not feel like you need to attend to it every second of every day. Okay. Apps and websites. This is where if you've set anything up, excuse me, that you've connected to your Facebook account. So for example, I think Scrabble. Scrabble is one of the apps that they say, oh, you can sign up with Facebook. You can't just sign up with an email address. You have to sign up with Facebook. So that is one where you would weigh whether or not you really want to use that app because it only uses your Facebook profile. You can't do it in a different way. That may have changed now, but when I initially signed up for the Scrabble app, I think it was only allowing you to use your Facebook information to sign up. So you might want to think about which ones you've signed up for using your Facebook information. Okay. All right. And then I think for ads, because we all know there's lots of ads on Facebook, right? So ad preferences, you have the ability to control just a little bit of ad things by changing your ad settings. So your ad settings here, you can go through this section to categories that are used to reach you, and you can change some of these. You're still going to see ads. It just may be that hopefully they're a little bit more useful to you. And you can kind of go through and control a little bit about what that is. But since Facebook is free to use, they do make their money through advertising. So you will still see advertisers and advertisements. Okay, great questions. Other questions? I do want to show the help and support real quick too. So if you go back up to your account information and down to help and support, if you go to the help center has some popular topics about account settings, passwords, privacy and security, pages and groups. And you can reach out to them through the, let me go back for just a second, let me jump in here. Help and support through the support inbox. If you need to report a problem or something, you can report it here to Facebook. It may take a while for them to get back to you, but you can at least, start the effort by reporting a problem. And, if somebody's doing what we call spoofing, where they basically have taken your profile photo and then made another Facebook account as if they're you, and they start to try to add your friends, you can report that account as fraudulent, and you could report it here. So, okay. All right. That's another thing I wanted to share. With events, we've done that. Okay. Any other questions about the help and privacy and security with Facebook? Again, what we're trying to do is basically show you these are all things that you might take a look at and then decide for yourself if you want to enable or disable them or change them. Okay.
I don't see any questions.
Okay. So the last things I want to talk about real quick, I'm going to go back to the slides here. We're almost done with today's topics. I'm going to go through. So this section in the handout is about the creating new posts and tagging, adding a feeling like we did where we said we're energized, and then creating the Facebook stories. So if you want to go into more detail with that, you can. Adding requests using Messenger, and then notifications like we talked about, and the account menu. And then there's a section for interacting. We talked about, you can hit like or sad or angry, commenting and sharing, events. And then here's a little bit about the etiquette and the things to consider. So if you post something to someone's timeline or their profile page, it is visible to them and all of their friends unless they change it. All comments you make on a post are also visible to all of their friends. So just keep in mind, if you're commenting to your friend and you think it's just between the two of you, it's not unless you use direct messaging. Okay. Just about everyone is on Facebook, including your coworkers, your boss, your employees, your significant other, and your family members. So again, if you post something there, It's out there for the world to see. Okay. You can delete a post. Someone could screenshot it before you delete it. Just know that it's out there. It's out there. It is public. Okay. Facebook gets to know, the get to know you posts from friends are sometimes used by people to mine your identity and create fake accounts. So during this became a bigger thing again during the pandemic, as people started to say, well, I'm bored, so I'm going to fill out this thing that says, like, where are you from? What's your, what was your favorite animal when you were a kid? All of those things, you do have the ability to give away your information. So maybe your favorite animal when you were a kid is also a security question for one of your other accounts. So if you say, your favorite animal when you were a kid was a ferret, and then that's a security question somewhere else, you've just given that away and it's out there. Okay, so keep that in mind. There have been court cases that included information and posts found through social media. So again, just be mindful of what you share or say online. Using all caps online is considered yelling unless you need to use all capital letters. People will think you're yelling, so just let them know if you need to use all caps for some reason. Just preface it by saying, I'm using all caps for clarity of me being able to type it or whatever. You want to be mindful when you tag people in photos or posts. I personally don't tag anyone else. I let them tag themselves if they want, just so that I avoid that, do they want people to know that they were in this photo? Okay. And then, like we talked about, you do have the options to unfollow, to block, or snooze. Okay. Okay. Questions about that? Or anything else we've covered so far? I know it's a lot of information.
I don't see any.
Okay. So when we were talking about settings, right, you can do those security measures, the privacy checkups, your general settings. We kind of talked about this a little bit with the demo. And what you can change or what you can see. And what I do recommend is if you're concerned about what other people might be able to see, have a friend log in to Facebook and tell you what they can see from your account. Then maybe have someone who isn't your friend yet show you what they can see. Again, you can just go into Facebook and search for someone without being logged in to see what you could see if you aren't logged in too. So like I said, your profile photo picture is always available, but whether or not you share your current city or where you work or things like that is stuff that you can customize if everyone can see it, like the entire public or just your friends. Okay, here's some more information about blocking and face recognition and your ad preferences. So again, the privacy checkup, if you want to do the privacy checkup, again, this is Facebook's privacy checkup, but it does get you to the point where you're thinking about, sharing what you want with who you want to share it with or whom you want to share it with. Okay. And then the only other thing I have to add is that there's a couple of additional resources about Facebook stories and how to create a story. And then GCF Learn Free has a Facebook tutorial. It's a little bit older now, but a lot of the information is still true. And then some information about privacy info and Messenger. Okay. And then for the rest of this month, we're continuing to cover social media. So next week will be Instagram. And then after that, we'll have our first class being taught on TikTok. Rebecca's going to teach that for us. So I'm looking forward to that because I have not spent a lot of time on TikTok yet. So I'm looking forward to learning more about TikTok myself. So that will be a new workshop. And then September, as we said, are hoping to be in person here at the main library. They'll be in the Friends Conference Room on the second floor at 2 p.m. on Tuesday. So the same time, just in person. And if you do want to see any of these as videos, we have run them as virtual webinars already. So all of that content is online at our YouTube channel, which if I can share the website again to get to that.
We do have another question too when you have a chance.
Sure. So to get to that, if you go to champaign.org, just show you real quick, down here at the very bottom, this icon that looks like a play button, this will take you to the library's YouTube channel. And then you can see the tech workshops. We have a whole playlist of tech workshops right here. You could also go to champaign.org. I think it's / is it YouTube?
Yeah, it's / YouTube.
YouTube. And then that'll also take you to our landing page where we have all of our playlists here. Okay, so that's 2 ways to get to all that content. And we have run each of the September things as a webinar already. So if you prefer, if you're more comfortable not coming in person and watching those virtual webinars, you're more than welcome to do so. Okay, and Rebecca, you said we had another question?
Yeah, someone was just curious about how do you log out of Facebook?
Excellent question. Yes, great question to ask. So up here, can you see the profile page?
Yes.
Right now? Okay. So up here in the top corner where the down arrow is, that brings you to all of your account information. At the bottom one down here is going to be the log out button. And I do recommend you log out regularly, especially if you're on a computer or device that you share with someone else. I had the library I used to work at, I had a coworker who was always on Facebook, and they left it up one time, and a coworker did some well, she didn't ask, she just went in and said how great she was as if she was them. So it was all in good fun. However, it was because they hadn't logged out. So it's good to remember to log out of your social media accounts on any computer that's shared. Also, at the same time, I didn't include this in the handout, but if you want to, the display and accessibility section, you can switch to dark mode, which if I do it, you'll see dark mode changes it so that it's white text on a black background. So if that's more preferable to you, you can switch it. And then there's a couple of other accessibility things that you can do here too. So, okay. Other questions?
I don't see anything else.
Okay. All right. Well, if you do, again, you can always reach out to us. I will put that up as well. I've got my information here. That's my email address and phone number here at the library. You can also reach out to us at librarian@champaign.org if you have questions, or call us at 403-2070. We're happy to help. That's why we're here. You can also do Book a Librarians, which will give you a half hour to an hour with a library staff member to go over a technology topic or other topics you might have, like our learning about our research tools that we have. And you can also reach out via live chat when it's staffed, which is whenever the library is open. And then you can also reach out at librarian@champaign.org, which is our email address. So, excuse me. Sorry about that. Apologize. Take some more of my water. Okay.
I also just sent out the handout in the chat today. So if people want to take a look at that, they can. Now we will send that out via email as well. So don't worry about not catching it if you can't catch it.
Okay, and I'll go ahead and stop sharing and then remove my spotlight here. And see if anybody else has questions or anything. And again, we're here to help. So we can always, if we don't have the answer, we can always reach out and see if we can put you in touch with someone who does for things too. All right.
Well, I don't see anything else. So I'll just say thank you everybody for joining us. We hope to see you next week for Intro to Instagram.
Instagram. Yeah. I have a lot of fun with the social media sites, because I spend a lot of time on social media sites.
Yes.
So, all right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks everybody.
Bye.
Bye.